The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow strip of water just 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, carries nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. Now that might sound surprising, but don't worry, I'll explain why this tiny place matters so much. Because at first glance, it just looks like another stretch of sea, but in reality, it's one of the most important locations on Earth. You see, this narrow passage connects the oil-rich Persian Gulf to the rest of the world through the Arabian Sea. And every single day, around 17 to 20 million barrels of oil pass through it, carried by massive tankers that power entire economies. In fact, according to global energy estimates, this is the most important oil transit choke point on Earth. But to really understand why this strait is so important today, I'll have to take you back in time. Thousands of years ago, long before oil was even discovered, this region was already a major trade route. Empires, especially the Persians, used these waters to connect with distant civilizations, including India and East Africa, moving goods, culture, and influence across regions. And because of this, whoever controlled this passage held significant influence over regional trade. And that's exactly why, in the early 1500s, the Portuguese captured Hormuz Island and established control over this strategic route. They built forts, controlled ships, and turned this narrow waterway into a powerful trading gateway. But of course, that control didn't last forever. In the 17th century, the Portuguese were pushed out by Persian forces, with support from the British. And over time, the British went on to dominate trade and security across much of the Persian Gulf region. Now here's where everything changes. In the early 20th century, massive oil reserves were discovered in the Middle East, and suddenly, this strait became more important than ever before. Because now, it wasn't just about trade, it was about energy. Countries around the Persian Gulf started exporting huge amounts of oil, and almost all of it had to pass through this one narrow route. Which meant that the Strait of Hormuz wasn't just important anymore. It became the world's most critical oil transit choke point. But, as you can probably guess, something this important also becomes a point of conflict. During the 1980s, in the Iran-Iraq War, both sides began attacking oil tankers in what became known as the Tanker War. More than 400 ships were damaged during this period, highlighting just how vulnerable this route can be. And the idea was simple. If you could disrupt oil flow, you could weaken your enemy. As tensions increased, the United States deployed naval forces to escort tankers, helping ensure that this route remained open. And even today, that tension still exists. Iran, which lies along one side of the strait, has repeatedly warned that it could disrupt or block shipping if conflicts escalate. Now just imagine what would happen if that actually took place. Nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply would suddenly be at risk. Oil prices would rise sharply, economies would struggle, and the effects would be felt all over the world. Especially in countries that depend heavily on Middle Eastern oil, including many in Asia. And that's exactly why this tiny strip of water holds so much power. Because in today's world, where countries still depend heavily on oil, controlling the Strait of Hormuz means influencing the global economy itself. And now you can see how the Strait of Hormuz became one of the most important and most dangerous choke points in the world. Thank you for watching. If you learned something new today, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.